What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're jumping into the next one on Geography Now. South Africa Journey Part 2. Let's finish it off. Coming at us from Mikhail. Much love, my friend. Definitely get over. So, Geography Now, the love of the world. All the research, all the knowledge, everything that you could possibly want to know about every country over there on the channel that they've done. Let's see what we got. Let's jump in. Let's finish off South Africa. We're going back. I need to go for a first time for sure because there's so much different things to see, different environments, different seasons even. It's crazy how much diversity there is. People-wise, land-wise, animal-wise, you name it, it's diverse.
So they use the South African rand as their currency, and they also use the M plug outlet, and they also drive on the left side of the road.
Left, former British colony. And also, somewhere around 80% of the country is Christian, mostly adhering to Protestantism.
So first off, let's clarify some confusing distinctions.
So you heard that word, colored. Okay, we Americans might have some horrible pre-civil rights flashbacks
yes,
when we hear that word, but we assure you, it's totally safe to use here in South Africa, right? Yeah.
It is totally safe, and I actually did use that word a few times in America, and I didn't know what I was doing until one of my friends that was American, he actually pulled me aside and was like,
no. Now, there's no complete definitive genetic makeup requirement, but colored people are essentially people that are mixed mostly between blacks and whites, although you can also have some Asian in there as well. It's not uncommon.
Basically, yes. After all the mixing, they kind of just made a new race.
Sarah Tishkoff, a geneticist at the University of Pennsylvania, did a genetic study that concluded that the Cape Coloreds of South Africa have the highest levels of mixed ancestry in the world.
So yeah, they're literally the children of the earth.
And that other word, Afrikaner, what is that?
Well, long story short, they're descended from the people brought in by the Dutch settlers in the 1600s. Keep in mind though, only about 40% of Afrikaners are directly Dutch descended, and the rest were mostly German and French.
Dutch and Afrikaans are about 90 to 95% mutually intelligible. South Africa has about 35 indigenous languages, but 11 official languages.
Anyway, these 11 languages are divided into 5
11 languages in one country.
Languages,
That's
English
crazy.
is the preferred language of the intercommunication between all peoples, and most South Africans are fluent in at least 2 or 3 languages.
You with English and Afrikaans, right?
Yes.
Yep. Is it kind of like really appreciated when a black South African sees a white South African speaking their language?
Oh, it absolutely is, and that's something that I have not mastered. We are taught Xhosa in school, for example. It isn't to the degree that Afrikaans is taught. You don't really become fluent, like I can understand certain things, but not a lot.
Yeah, I think Port Elizabeth was changed to Kaipela
Yes,
or
it
something
was.
like that. Yeah.
Exactly. You said that good.
See, you got that click practice.
That was saying.
And yes, many of the Nguni languages like Zulu and Xhosa have the click sounds. And
These clicks were actually borrowed though. See, of the black Africans, the majority are Bantu. Believe it or not, they're not the original inhabitants of South Africa. Archaeological evidence suggested that they migrated somewhere estimated around the 3rd century AD.
the Khoikhoi and San people, often collectively called the Khoisan, make up less than 1% of the population today, and they are the earliest known inhabitants with ancestors dating back somewhere around 100 to 200,000 years, making them speculated to be some of the oldest peoples on Earth. They have the original click languages. Quick history lesson.
Over time, the Bantus came in and dominated with their iron tools and farming practices.
And although they displaced many of the Khoisan, anthropologists and sociologists speculate that there must have been some intermingling because the click consonants were adopted in their languages.
Over a millennium later, the Dutch were first Europeans to come in and establish Cape Town, and then brought in their farmers known as Boers.
Meanwhile, hundreds of miles east, Shaka Zulu was unifying most of the Nguni tribes in the early 19th century and drove out many of the rival tribes like the Matabele, Makololo, and the Fengu. This was known as the Mfetene, or the Great Crushing and Displacement.
Enter the British. This is where the story gets really complicated, so here's a quick cutaway to help.
Oh, here we go.
I'm taking
Complicated.
Cape Town, while the Netherlands has problems in Europe.
Well, I'm just gonna go run away then and make my own republics in the north.
Get out! You're not even from this continent!
Make me.
Oh, I'll make you! Oh, hey!
Bollocks! There's like a ton of gold and diamonds in your new republic areas. Move over!
Hell no.
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into that, but basically it was a chain of weird multi-leveled, multi-party, multi-ethnic battles and subjugation.
In addition to the countless native Bantus killed in wars, there were 2 Boer wars between the British and Afrikaners, which led to 10% of the white Afrikaner population being killed. So you had one European power subjugating another European group on a continent neither were native to, all dealing with the natives.
So, in a
That's
nutshell,
horrible.
I want the land.
I was here centuries before you.
I was here over a millennium before you.
Seriously, are we really doing this?
In any case, after the country gained independence in 1920
That
as a union
makes
and
sense.
fully sovereign
That
in
sounds like something we
1931,
would
it
do.
underwent a controversial period of apartheid or apartheid in 1948 all the way up to 1994.
This system essentially divided peoples by racial lines and put strict laws that were obviously racist and not like, equivalent to, certain extreme factions of microaggression culture that blames pretty much everything on racism. I mean, like, literally, it was actually written, approved, and enacted in legal policy racist.
Under the homeland system, most of the black population was concentrated in the ethno-states called Bantustans, where only 13% of the land was reserved for the majority of the black populace to have property in.
Rules and services were different for colored people as well, and the Asian minorities. It was very complicated and often arbitrarily drawn. Some of the colored people were allowed in parliament in the 70s and some weren't. Some minorities were labeled in the same group as coloreds, while some, like the Lebanese, Taiwanese, Koreans, Japanese, they all shared actually the same classification level for whites. It was confusing and weird, yeah.
Eventually, after a number of factors
Very weird.
pressured them, apartheid ended with full democratization for blacks in 1994, and that's when things got very incredibly tense.
See, in Africa, a transition of power like that usually goes one of two ways. One, a spiteful uprising from the native black population built on vengeance that seeks to dispose most of the white population and expropriate everything from them. Or, number two, find a way to move forward as one people with a new system built on forgiveness, acknowledging that it will be awkward and difficult, but peace cannot come from a bitter heart.
Today, of course, it's still a very complicated issue, and there's no universal narrative and everyone agrees with, and yes, controversial incidents still occur.
Crime is still high in certain areas due to social stress and poverty, and yes, there's the whole BEE movement thing, which started as a program aimed to integrate the black population into the workforce, but it has a lot of controversial undertones, and with implementation, I'm sure you could probably say a lot of stuff about that,
Yes.
you and the other South Africans.
Then there's the energy crisis or load shedding issue. You'll actually wake up in the morning and you'll get a message on your phone because we have an app that will tell you it's from 6 a.m. to maybe like 2 p.m. you won't have any energy at all.
At least they have an app that warns you, so.
That's new. That's new. We didn't always have that.
Oh, okay.
It was very recent.
They're working on it.
Yes.
But the point is, there's so much stuff. If you guys want to write about it in the comments, if you're from South Africa, I implore you to have a civil discussion, which I know on YouTube is almost impossible. But
I
Almost
don't know.
impossible.
Watch the movie Invictus if you want
I
to
would
get
say
an
that's a
idea
very
on
brave
how
thing
it
to
started.
do.
and speaking of Invictus, let's move on to a lighter note. Let's talk about the sports. Here's Art with the sports part.
Hey, I gotta hand it to geography now. Seriously, I love how they tackle the controversial things. They still give you the information. They don't pick sides. They stay kind of neutral with it. They're just letting you know what happened. There's a lot of people out there when it comes to the touchy subjects that can't handle it. A lot of people. I think it's important to know. I think that any history that offends you is the history that you should be teaching in schools. The history that everybody should know about. Because if it's offensive to you, there's less likely a chance that you're ever going to repeat any of it. That's what this whole learning from history is about. Like, the world has been through some things. We bit crazy, greedy type people have gone in and conquered the natives of a lot of different countries, have gone in and completely redisplaced people to other spots. Like, I don't know. It's important to know what, when, who, why, where, how. Like, I like that they just give us the nitty gritty. Here's what happened. You guys can discuss it down in the comment section. Like, that is smart. That's a smart way to do it. It's a very respectable way to do it.
Hey guys, it's me and Tarchin, we're back! Alright, I gotta put Tarchin down so we can start. Specifically rugby. Their national team, the Springboks, have won the World Cup 3 times, tied with New Zealand. In fact, South Africa is one of only 2 countries that has hosted the soccer, rugby, and cricket World Cups. In fact, they are actually the only African country to host the Soccer World Cup so far. Fun fact, South Africans are actually one of the only countries that, like us Americans, also call football soccer. Cheers to you guys.
Oh.
Soccer! Makes no
Really?
sense, but we're together in our wrongness. Otherwise, cricket is
together
probably
in our
the
wrongness.
third most
That's
popular
absolutely
sport,
right.
and their national team, the Proteas, usually ranks in the world's top 10 best teams. Otherwise, at the Olympics, they've done pretty well in the swimming and athletics department, racking up 26 gold medals so far. Gold is better than silver. They've also been tennis powerhouses as well. Johan Kriek won 2 Australian Grand Slam titles in the 80s. That's a big deal. In certain areas, you might find a touch of Dutch with things like korfball. Also originating in South Africa is ringball, which is basically another variation of korfball. Yukske is a traditional Afrikaner sport similar to horseshoes, in which you have to knock over a peg on the ground from a distance. And many of the native peoples have their own style of martial arts. The most renowned probably being the Nuni stick fighting, or Donga, performed mostly by the Zulu or the Alt. I can't do it. That was horrible. Osa people.
That was better, yeah.
Okay. And that's it for me. I'm gonna get the out of here. I'll see you.
Thank you, Art.
And South Africa is also really well known for its surfing. And if you ever just want to watch a competition and have a great jaw, you can go to JBet. Yes, exactly. That's what it would happen.
So, as we mentioned, South Africa has a huge diversity of ethno-linguistic people groups. We already made a video explaining about some of them, but let's just quickly cover the main ones. First, you have the Nguni group. This group includes the cousins Zulus, Xhosas, and the Ndebele peoples.
Zulus are probably the most well-known worldwide. You may have seen images of their traditional animal skin warrior attire or weaponry and dance ceremonies for the men. Women often wear those wide, conical isicholo hats on special occasions.
For the Xhosa, they are kind of like the pacifist siblings of the Zulus. Their traditional garbs have those black and white patterns with beads and red ochre dyed blanket coverings.
Ndebele are like the artists, known for their colorful patterns, painted houses. The symbols are unique to each family. And they are also the bead experts, and they'll flaunt heavy beaded neck and leg ornaments on special occasions. Finally, the Swazi people are basically cousins to the people of the Eswatini, known for honoring their kings with mklanga or reed dance.
Then we have the Sotho group, made up of the Sotho, the Tswana, and the Sepedi peoples.
They're all relatives
many
to the
different
people of Lesotho
cultures
and
in one
Botswana,
area.
and many of them are mountain people. You can see lots of them riding horses and wearing makorotlo hats and Basotho blankets as temperatures are generally colder with high elevations.
The Tswana people have 8 major clans, and they love the color blue, especially with the Letishi cloth.
The Songa are known for their many initiation rituals and electric dance style, or Songa disco.
The Venda people are some of the most isolated groups in the north, famous for their natural medicines, and the Masangwe, or bare knuckle fist fight sport, which people use to kind of like monitor and solve disputes.
Now for non-Africans, we already explained about the white South Africans. The Afrikaners and the English are unique in the way that they kind of developed their own breakaway Africanized culture from the European ancestors.
What are you, by the way?
I'm English.
Oh, okay.
I am an English through and through.
The colored community has always kind of had a unique status as the somewhat marginalized but not as marginalized group. They've always kind of had to figure out who they were since they technically didn't fully belong anywhere.
Then you have the Asian community, the largest groups being of the Cape Malays and the Indians, brought over during colonial times for their indentured servitude. The Boerkaap neighborhood of Cape Town is essentially the Malay Quarter, and today their culture is a fascinating mixture that blends elements of Dutch and Asian.
In fact, most of them actually speak Afrikaans as their first language, and the Malay language is almost all but gone.
The Indian community was brought in by the British, and Durban has one of the highest population of Indians outside of India. Most were brought over from West and South India, including Gandhi, who spent 21 years living in the area.
Whew, yeah, that was a lot, and that wasn't even scratching the surface. There's so many other people groups we didn't even talk about. But in any case, here's Hannah to explain a little bit more about the few things that South Africa's people have collectively as one entity, eternity.
One eternity.
Hannah's culture segment. Random Hannah.
Woo!
Love
South
Random Hannah.
Africa! Guys, get a Random Hannah shirt at geographynow.com. So, alright, obviously there is no such thing as a single type of South African, but in the end, they are still one country that moves forward to the best of their ability. For one, many of the native ethnic groups, whether Zulu or Venda, follow the Lobola system, in which the groom must pay a dowry in cattle to the bride's family. I love the countries where they pay people with cow.
Remember Rwanda?
Yes, I freaked out. I was like, what? There is literally a Lobolo app available now to help relieve the stress of figuring how many cattle you owe. Township art became very popular in the 60s and 70s.
Thailand needs to adopt that. We need to get a dowry app.
Figuring how many cattle you owe. Township art became very popular in the 60s and 70s. It was sort of a social commentary movement that depicted the impoverished black communities of South Africa to move towards the end of apartheid. In addition, you will notice there are so many different architecture styles in South Africa. You have everything from the massive thatched fortified dome huts of Zulu to the Cape Dutch style homes inspired from the Dutch with flat crow-stepped gable roofs. South Africans have also been front runners in many inventions, discoveries, and innovations. For example, the automatic pool cleaner, the CAT scan, putty adhesive, the smart lock safety syringe, the world's first heart transplant happened here, the yellow fever vaccine, and they have the biggest optical telescope in the southern hemisphere, and so on. What else?
Fun fact, being South African means knowing the difference between now, and just now.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Jay. South Africa has also been the location shot of many feature films and TV shows. Everything from the debuting film The Gods Must Be Crazy, Academy Award winner Tsotsi, which I actually watched last night. Amazing movie. Academy Award nominated District 9 and Chappie. And of course, Mandela Long Walk to Freedom.
Chappie and District 9 were really good.
There's some amazing comedy, which I feel like people don't talk about that much. I've been watching a lot of Leon Schuster movies. Yeah. And finally, the one thing that unifies all South Africans is Heritage Day, in which people are encouraged to wear their traditional costumes and express their background, and everyone joins in a bride together, no matter who you are. Usually, the festivals include an abundance of music. So to expound more on that, here's Keith. Blah, blah, blah. Wait, Keith isn't here. How's he gonna be in this video?
Hannah, I'm in Florida, and guess what? You can't cancel me! Anyways, South Africa. They have so much going on. Even their national anthem is sung in 5 different languages. Basically, from the beginning, traditional vocals were used, along with the marimba, the uhadi, the kora, and other assorted hand drums and harps. The first style of music to really take over the world, probably Marabi. Now, Marabi started out in the slums of Johannesburg, and Marabi is a style of music that is basically underground swing jazz. From there, world-renowned artists such as Soweto Gospel Choir and Lady Smith Black Mombazo have put South Africa on the map. Every South African will definitely know Johnny Clegg, the white Zulu who wrote songs in Zulu to criticize apartheid. Today, South Africa is known predominantly for its popularity in house music, and more specifically for the subgenres of Guam and I'm a piano. You guys told us to definitely mention those styles of music. Some other South African artists that you may be familiar with are Diane Wood for their crazy hip-hop, South African-y fusion style of music. You guys might know Synth Peter, who I think has one of the greatest songs ever written. It's called Doof Doof. You should all go jam to Doof Doof. Yeah, that's it for me. Hope you guys had a good one, and back to you, Paul!
Thank you, Keith. All right, so this is the part where we talk about some of the famous people of South Africa, and here's South African geography, Kolo, to explain.
South Africa is as talented as it is diverse. A few notable South Africans that you geography peeps might be familiar with include Charlize Theron, John Carney, Trevor Noah, Sholto Copley, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Demi Lee Peters, Zosibenzi Tunzi, and last but not least, business magnate Elon Musk. There are a number of South Africans who have excelled in different fields across the decades. These are but just a few South Africans that you geography peeps might be familiar with. Thank you,
Kolo. All right, and with that, we got to move on to the next segment. This video is getting kind of long. Catherine, you ready? Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Friends of South Africa.
Alright, so South Africa and their clique, who's in and who's close? Well, it really depends on where you want to start on the globe, but put in a nutshell.
As a member of the Commonwealth of Nations, of course, South Africa has always had many ties to their Anglophone counterparts. New Zealand and Australia are kind of like the Southern Hemisphere trio that dominate the Tropic of Capricorn. These three have been trading and assisting each other for centuries and have friendly competitions. There was a bit of tension in the past, though, since many white South Africans choose to move to these countries in fear of policies they think might target them in South Africa. It got to the point where an Australian cabinet member even referred to them as refugees, which caused some backlash. But apart from that, overall, these three get along great. South Africa is also a member of the BRICS nations, the Association of Emerging Economies, being Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Together, these five have about a quarter of the world's land and about 40% of the world's population. They maintain a non-interference policy with mutual benefit plans. As a former British and Dutch colony, obviously the UK and Netherlands have cordial ties. Many South Africans visit or live in these countries. Interestingly, though, despite a heavy usage of the Afrikaans language, South Africa has rejected all offers to join the Dutch Language Union, and today stands in special partner status along with Indonesia. If you ask who South Africa's best friends are, though, you'd probably have to head a little closer home. Today, despite being fully independent sovereign nations, South Africans usually don't even see Lesotho or Eswatini as separate countries. South Africa even has more Sotho and Swazi people than the entire population of each country. Same goes for the Tswana people of Botswana. So they get these countries. In addition, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Namibia are also in the core group. They share a lot of the same ethnic groups like the Shona,
it could
Tsonga,
take you a
and
lifetime
Khoisan.
to go
Granted,
through the
yes,
whole
there was
of
a little bit
Africa.
of tension
It
with
really
Zimbabwe
could.
when they called for economic sanctions against South Africa during apartheid, and South Africa was pissed that Zimbabwe was hosting guerrilla rebels, and they didn't really like Zimbabwe's expropriation laws that kind of kicked out almost their entire white population, but nonetheless, they have good relations. As for Namibia, they actually were a part of South Africa until gaining independence in 1990, so there's a significant historical tie. Today, a huge portion of Namibia's economy is tied with South Africa. They even accept the South African rand as legal tender, and overall, they just really like each other when they meet up. In conclusion, I think you should take it away, Catherine. I'm out.
So South Africa, I feel, is super unique in the way that
Very.
we connect with one another. The words that we use, the lingo, just everything is very different to anything I've ever experienced in another country. I feel like South Africa is just like Fynbos in the way that it's not seen anywhere else in the world.
I like that. It's like Fynbos, nowhere else on Earth. And stay tuned, Spain is coming up next.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Geography Now, South Africa, Part 2. Serious shout out to Geography Now and all of those involved in giving us this crazy information. This is a load of knowledge to take in. I like to go back and rewatch these sometimes. Definitely think that you should get over it. Follow Geography Now. Check out some of their other things. Learn about the places of the world. Learn the real about the places of the world. Don't take your knowledge right from the news. Don't take it from the people on your TV, because they would have you believe that staying in place right where you're at is the best thing in the world for you. And that might not be the case. If you got any kind of thoughts that you want to make a jump, that you want to go somewhere, that you want to do something, go do it. See the world for yourself. This is a way for us to explore without actually having to go explore, and I appreciate it 100%. Shout out to Mikhail again for the request. Smash the like button if you liked it, the dislike button, but I won't believe you. Till the next one, I'm Combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe. Love you to the moon and back. Peace.